excuse letters. Siguro isa-isay natin, no, para at least maging fair naman po doon sa mga resource persons who have attended while others have not. So ito po yung mga excuse na galing kay Crisette Chu. I think invitation to joint inquiry. After careful consideration, I would like to respectfully turn down your invitation due to these following reasons. There are so many reasons, and maybe I'll be giving this to the members for their perusal afterwards para makita natin what action to be taken. Also from Aaron Peña, meron din po siyang excuse letter. Yes, kay Mark Anthony Lopez, just received today. I think this is also an excuse letter. Kay June Abines, after having a discussion with my lawyers, I regret to inform you that I won't be attending the hearing today because the objective of the hearing is an attempt to curtail the people's right to expression. From Richard Mata, thank you for the invitation. I just received this yesterday, just a day before the event. I consulted my lawyer and was advised not to attend. The late invitation plus the unclear purpose of the event. We support the freedom of speech. We also support it. From Elizabeth Joy Cruz, same excuse. Meron din excuse. Kay Attorney Trixie Cruz Angeles, I respectfully decline this invitation as I question the legality of the inquiry as well as the proposed legislation for being violative of the constitutional guarantee of free speech. From Ethel Garcia, decline as well. From Maui Spencer, out of the country. From Sean Wayne, long excuse. And sa TikTok, YouTube, and Meta. So I think the members have to decide on the other members who have not given us any excuse letter for not attending this resource person.
Mr. Chair.
Congressman Marcoleta and then Congressman Abante.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Judging from the title of the resolution before us, is it correct to assume that this hearing is only limited to social media platforms?
No, of course not.
Because the way I see it, it only addresses the alleged problems encountered against bloggers.
No, Chairman, Congressman Marcoleta. That's the reason why we have invited as well the government agencies and also the academe and other media outlets who have parameters on.
But we have not invited members of the mainstream media, Mr. Chair.
We did. And that's the reason why we're asking for the excuse letter as well. Because a while ago, the COMSEC have acknowledged the persons of the resource persons who have been invited.
Did we invite, Mr. Chair, Philippine Inquirer and Philippine Star?
COMSEC, can you please reply to the query of the good gentleman from Taguig Party List?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Philippine Daily Inquirer was not invited, Mr. Chair.
How about other social media? How about some other major media outlets?
Philippine Star, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, KBP was invited, kapisanan ng mga broadcasters sa
And the presence of the KBP is here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did that satisfy the query of Congressman Marcoleta?
Because I think, Mr. Chair, even not only the social media are supposed to be invited, but also the mainstream media. I am personally victimized by these two popular newspapers, broadsheets. May I cite a particular example just to dramatize, Mr. Chair?
Yeah,
Kaya importante lang sana. Gusto ko rin sila marinig ko nandito.
You want
Just a point of order.
So what's the point of order?
We are still in checking all the invitations that was sent to all the invitees. At the same time, Mr. Chairman, some of those invitees are not present. And with regards to the query being made by Congressman Marcoleta, I do believe that he has a basis for that. And since, Mr. Chairman, the COMSEC has confirmed that indeed Philippine Daily Inquirer and Philippine Star are not invited into today's hearing. Since Congressman Marcoleta is not a member of this committee, may I respectfully move, Mr. Chairman, that in the next hearing we will invite Philippine Daily Inquirer and Philippine Star to expedite discussion, Mr. Chairman. So move, Mr. Chairman.
May I know, Mr. Chair, why...
Wait. Order. By Congressman Paduano, and we have to tackle first the motion. Huh? We have to tackle the motion.
I
that
second
was,
the motion.
and there's that was duly seconded. Any objection? Hearing none, the motion is now approved. So, Congressman Marcoleta, your query is valid. Unfortunately, I think it's the fault of the COMSEC for not inviting, because you have to consider as well that we have invited so many already for the bloggers. It was like 40, and we cannot accommodate everybody. And that's the reason why your query is so valid that we will be inviting them in the next hearing. And at the same time, having said that, your story about being victimized of those two broadsheet can be tackled in the next hearing. So the next item.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, you have the floor right now, Congressman.
I just would like to find out if Miss Elizabeth Cruz, aka Joey DeVere, was invited.
Consent,
If
please.
he was invited,
Mr. Chairman, once again, a point of order, Mr. Chairman.
What's the point of order?
Once again, Mr. Chairman, the floor is still with Congressman Marcoleta, and is she okay na po ba? Kaya Congressman Marcoleta, with regards to the query that I move to invite Philippine Daily Inquirer and Philippine Star.
Yes.
It was approved. Now,
Well, actually, I have already taken action.
I
on
know,
the
but
query of
the floor is still
Congressman,
with Congressman Marcoleta, and I asked personally Congressman Marcoleta to the chair if he is satisfied with the motion that I have made, Mr. Chairman. And after that, siguro, let's proceed with another member of the House of this committee.
Congressman Marcoleta, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I still have to include another aspect of inquiry. Kasi hindi lamang po yung social media at saka yung mainstream media. I was also personally victimized by certain survey firms. Nagsasurvey po sila. For example po, yung SWS, kailangan sabihin ko na po. Nag-survey po sila ng third quarter survey last year. And they listed 40 names, senatorial preferences. Nandito po sa akin, ibibigay ko po yung kopya po, reference ng ating committee. There are 40 names mentioned and indicated in that list. Ito po, Mr. Chair. Gusto ko lamang pong emphasize na dito sa apat na pong senatorial balls po na kanilang ginamit dito sa survey na to, meron pong 6 na relatively unknown. Babasahin ko po ang pangalan: Adonis Jerome, Andamo Jocelyn, Arambolo Ronel, Doringo Mimi, Floranda Muri, Danilo Ramos. Meron po naman 7 na sikat, Mr. Chair, pero hindi naman nagpahayag po ng pagtakbo bilang senador. Andyan na po si dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte, dating Senador Franklin Drilon, dating Senador Richard Gordon, Harry Roque, dating Vice Presidente Robredo Maria Leonor, at saka po yung ating Secretary of Defense, Gilbert Chodoro. Pero po malinaw dito, Mr. Chair, hindi po nila ako nilagay dito sa 40. Pero no pong yung outcome pong ito ipalabas nila, number 36 po ako. Paano po mangyayari na ako po ay magiging number 36, hindi naman po kasali rito? Ito po yung klase ng mga manipulative surveys na pinaniniwalaan po ng mga tao. Sana po hindi na lang nila ako sinama sapagkat wala naman ako rito. Sino po ba si Adonis Jerome? Andamo Jocelyn, Arambulo Ronel, Doringo Mimi, Floranda Modi, Mr. Kong Barbers, may kilala ka ba rito? Bakit naman po, hindi ko naman po pinagpipilitan na isama nila ako rito. Ang problema, hindi po ako kasama, Mr. Chair, pero nilagay po nila ako doon sa resulta, number 36 ako. Hindi naman po tama ito. Ito po yung gusto nating i-address lahat. Hindi lamang po social media.
We understand that your predicament,
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Congressman Marcoleta. And,
Bibigay ko po yung
and this
kopya para sa
and this
referensya po.
representation also doesn't believe that. Because on my own assumption, nasa top 5 ka. So, Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Chairman, just
Mr. Chair.
but kidding aside, no,
Mr. Chair.
kidding aside, we have to tackle that issue as well. Espoused by Congressman Marcoleta. So we will be inviting over in the next hearing, what survey firm is that? SWS and the Pulsation. Ilan ba yan?
Ito lang muna yung nakita ko.
Because-
At saka yung Manila Broadcasting Corporation.
MBC. Because in the House resolution itself, the House resolution number 2147, it clearly states,
social media lang.
Yeah.
Medyo lang eh.
Oh, kaya yun lang yung topic natin. But we cannot,
But it was delivered. No. Congressman Barbers, you have delivered in your privilege speech a wide, comprehensive approach on this matter.
That
And
is
I think
correct, Mr.
inviting
Chair.
over the survey firm is also correct.
Yeah, maybe we
Because
can
we are tackling not
expand.
only the House Resolution number 2147, we're also tackling two privileged speeches that was delivered by you. So I think may basis po yung kay Congressman Marcoleta. Okay, and at the same time, so there's some
Mr. Chair,
noted po yung kay Congressman Marcoleta. Now,
May I now be
Chairman
recognized?
Abante, now you are recognized.
my query is if we have invited a certain Elizabeth Cruz, no? AKA Joey De Vibre, Mr. Chair. If we have invited her and she has an excuse letter, may I know what was the excuse, Mr. Chairman?
Consec, please answer the query of Congressman Abante. Please.
Matapang sa social media. Harap dito ayaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Miss Elizabeth Joy Cruz was invited and she sent an excuse letter via email.
Ano po yung kanyang excuse letter? Ano yung dahilan?
Ito ba yun? Manila Broadcasting.
One moment, sir. I'll get it from the chair. Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Can you kindly also, Comsec, can you kindly also try to tell us those resource persons who have not attended?
particularly I am referring to AKA Jude De Vivre.
Huwag mo na sabihin.
Sir, ito po yung...
Congressman Abante.
Dahil lang, katutuloy ko lang sa buta.
Mr. Chairman, Congressman, don't be so personal. Let's be more comprehensive on this approach.
Yeah, binabasa ko lang eh.
Oh, sige, go ahead. I'll give you
Pangalawa, November 13, 2024, nagmura na naman siya. Hindi ko na babanggitin yung mura niya. Pag tinatanong kung anong legislation ginawa niyo in relation to this BS, ano ba yung BS? BS inquiry, sasagot ka, paswelduhan ka ng taxpayers, gago. November 3, 2024, si Benny Abante at si Romel Marbil ay mga protektor ng illegal na droga dahil pilit nilang pinalalabas na hindi ito ganun kasama. Oh. Tapos sabing ganyan, si Dan Fernandez and H. Barber's survey are depressing. Alam na nila na matatalo sila sa eleksyon. So what is the hearing for? Smoke screen for the Biscam. Tinabi ko ito sapagkat matindi po itong mga akusasyon na ibinigay nitong gusto ko nilang magmura eh. Hindi na ako bumumura muna. Oo.
Chairman Abante.
Kailangan po, itong mga to, ang tatapang nila eh. Ang tatapang sa pagmumura, nang wala tayong kalaban-laban. Ngayon, pag kaharap dito, hindi makaharap dito. Oo. Mga takot din pala yung mga yan eh.
Please hold your fire, please. Mr. Chairman.
I'm holding my
We're
fire.
just on the process of administrative, ano pa lang muna tayo, Congressman
ito.
Abante. We can tackle that on the interpellation.
Mr. Chair, gusto ko lang pong bagitin tong kanyang excuse letter. Nakalagay dito, after meaningful consultation with my lawyers. Gumaya pa na abogado. I have decided to respectfully decline. Respectfully? Minumura tayo, respectfully? To share my knowledge on matters. Hindi knowledge ang kailangan natin.
The lawyer, this is like...
Oo. Ask the lawyers kung libelous yung ginawa nyo o slander. No, nakalagay. I would like to categorically state that I am neither paid by POGO operators. Hindi na pinag-uusapan. Pinag-uusapan natin yung mga sinabi niya. Tapos respectfully, Elizabeth Joey Cruz. Nga nakikinig po sa atin ngayon, nanonood ngayon. Humarap ka dito. Kumatapang ka. Hirap sa iyo nagmumura ka. Nang dyan na wala kaming kalaban-laban. Humarap ka dito. Dito. Namo.
Chairman, Mr. Chairman,
No, wait. Quiet.
Chairman.
Please observe, refrain from laughing or whatever expression you wanted to, please observe decency and, of course,
Mr. Chair, I move that
with
we
all due
strike
wait.
out.
With all due respect, with all due respect with Congressman Abante, I feel your sentiment, I feel your sentiment, but we are in the process of finding out the, yung pong implementation of the 10175, and I respect your freedom of expression, but what I'm trying to tell you is to refrain from the fire that you wanted to.
Hearing, we must first already discharged.
Made by she's just like a daughter to me because her father is a very good friend of mine. So I would like to withdraw my objection, although it is not actually an expletive.
Yeah.
But I'm withdrawing it for the sake of the motion, Mr. Chair.
So the next item of our agenda is the administering the oath of the resource persons. Those who have been invited to attend this committee hearing, please stand up, and the COMSEC is hereby directed to administer the oath of the resource persons.
May we request all the resource persons invited to stand, raise your right hand and repeat after me. Do you swear to
Discussion. Please be reminded that pursuant to our ground rules, House members shall register with the committee secretary and shall be recognized on a first-to-register basis. Members shall be given 10 minutes each for their interpellation, excluding the answers of the resource persons. No member except the chairpersons or the presiding officer and the senior deputy speaker shall be allowed to speak or make interjections during the course of the interpellation of a member unless and until recognized by the lead chairperson or the presiding officer. Lastly, we enjoin everyone to observe proper decorum in basic courtesy in our proceedings. Please address your questions to the co-chairs and wait to be recognized. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Co-Chair Pimentel.
Chairman.
So, muna tapos doon. The next is Chairman Aquino for the discussion proper. Please discuss it.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. With the permission of my co-chairs, I would like to propose that we first hear from the academe, then government agencies and independent media organizations to give us a situationer on the social media landscape. Each presenter shall have 10 minutes. Thank you.
So the proposed flow of discussion, una po yung academe, si Dr. Jonathan Ong, then academe muna, then government agencies, then the independent media organization. This will be the flow of our discussion. But for the meantime, going back to the administrative matter, Congressman Chairman Chairman Paduano, have something to say?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a matter of procedure, Mr. Chairman. And a protocol of every committee hearing, Mr. Chairman. All resource person being invited in every hearing and absent should have an excuse letter or explanation. And if that excuse letter is valid and acceptable to the committee members, so we invited guest that was mentioned by Congressman Abante. And it's up to Congressman Abante what will be the next step for this committee, for his or her invitation in the next hearing. I just want to make it clear, Mr. Chairman, that all invitees who are not present in today's hearing the committee should have a proper disposition with regards to their invitation, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So what's the pleasure of the body?
Mr. Chair, in relation to what don't show up or make an excuse letter, then I'll make a motion that we issue a show cause order on them.
So there's a manifestation by Congressman Abante that those who have not written any excuse letter will be invited again in the next hearing. Actually, hindi to motion, but it's a procedure that is being governed as, no? So, doon sa mga resource persons na hindi po nakarating, na hindi nagpadala ng mga excuse letter, you are being invited again in the next hearing. And for those who have written an excuse letter, what's the pleasure of this body on the excuse letters that they have sent us? Because they have written as letters.
Mr. Chairman, that was mentioned by Congressman Abante. Ganun po yung sagot niya. Shall we invite her, babae ba? Shall we invite her again or issue a show cause order? For me, Mr. Chairman, that is offensive and we should also issue a show cause order for her. And we will not just invite her in the next hearing, we will issue a show cause order for that person. Mr. Chairman.
According sa, okay, thank you so much for that, Congressman Paduano. According sa Section 9 of our rules, witnesses shall be granted more than two postponements of appearance before the committee without justifiable cause. So we can issue a show cause order because wala silang justifiable reason.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Congressman Ako, please.
we must distinguish the resource person who was invited but did not offer any excuse from the resource person who was invited but came up with a letter excuse. So why should we treat them the same? According to our protocols, as we have done in the previous committee hearings, those invited persons who did not offer any excuse, the next order is for them, for the committee to issue a show cause order to explain why. And for those people who offered an excuse for their absence, it's up for the committee to determine whether the excuse is acceptable or not. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, I think we have so many excuse letters that were given to us by the COMSEC.
Mr. Chair,
And
particularly
yes,
the excuse letter of this Miss Elizabeth Joey Cruz. She said, I know that the time of the committee is precious and I am coming from deep concern on prudent utilization of public resources. Mr. Chair, this is contemptible. This is not respecting this committee. How dare she would say the prudent utilization of public resources? I therefore make a motion, Mr. Chair, that we issue a show cause order on this Elizabeth Joey Cruz. I move therefore, Mr. Chair.
so there's a motion to issue a show cause order to that resource person. What's the name? Elizabeth Cruz. And there was a second motion. Any objection? Hearing that, the said motion is now approved. Yun po yung merong excuse letter. And there's still a lot. Like, for example, yung kay Sean Wayne, kay Maui Spencer, kay Ethel Garcia. But you have to read the content of their excuse letter. Like, for example, one of these, you want to move on this, or you want to discuss this on a later part of the discussion? Or you want to have an omnibus motion with all of this, But there are excuse letters which are valid. Like, for example, this personality, nasa Singapore siya. So, katulad ito, out of the country, si Maui Spencer, for not being there in our country yet. Nasa Singapore siya for vacation. So, I think, excuse yung kanyang, yung Attorney Abiles, sige. After having discussion with my lawyer, isa-isayin na natin to kung gusto nyo. Okay, after having discussion with my lawyers, I regret to inform you that I won't be attending the hearing today because the objective of the hearing is an attempt to curtail the people's right to expression. So, kay June Abines.
With that excuse letter, Mr. Chairman, I found it not valid and I moved to issue a show cause order for that June Abinas, Mr.
Okay,
Chairman.
so there's a motion to issue a show cause order to this resource person. Any second motion? Second. There's a second motion. Any objection? Hearing none, the said motion is now approved.
Okay, Mr. Chair, if I may.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, para lang doon sa mga nanonood, ito pong hearing na ito ay hindi para kitilin o isuppress yung freedom of speech nila. Wala ho kaming ganong layunin. Ang layunin po natin dito ay gawa ng polisiya ang paggamit ng social media platforms. Dapat po meron tayong disiplina, meron tayong code of conduct, meron tayong ethics sa paggamit nitong social media. Hindi yung pagbukas mo ng social media, magmumura ka. Meron dyan, nagso-social media, nagbablog, walang ginawa araw-araw kundi manawagan ng kaguluhan sa ating bansa, nananawagan ng people power, nananawagan ng kudeta. Yung ba ay tama, Mr. Chair? Ang punto lang natin dito is magkaroon tayo ng ganitong ng regulasyon o regulatory policy para kagaya po ng mga broadcasters, meron po silang KBP. Kagaya po ng mga manunulat sa dyaryo, meron po silang NUJP. They're all bound by rules and regulations. But in this social media, the use of social media platforms, unfortunately, wala po tayong ganyan sa ngayon. At hindi po pwede na gawin pong rason ng mga yan na meron tayong freedom, na kine-curtail natin yung freedom of speech nila. Huwag niyo pong lokohin ang taong bayan. Wala hong curtailment o suppression ng freedom of speech dito. Kaya nga kayo inimbita rito eh. Diba? Kaya kayo inimbita dito para makapagpahayag din kayo. Hindi po ba yan ay tamang freedom of expression? Ba't ngayon nagpapadala kayo ng mga sulat na hindi kayo pwede kasi hindi kayo naniniwala sa layunin ng pagdinig na ito? Wag po kayo magtago sa mga ganyan. Ang tatapang nyo, sabi nga ni Congressman Abante, in the advent of social media, suddenly Filipinos become political analysts. They become journalists. They become experts. We need your wisdom. Diba? Kayo, ang gagaling nyo magtuligsa Dito nyo gawin para nang sa ganun, makagawa tayo ng isang polisiya na hindi po maabuso ito. Ngayon, nandiyan kayo sa social media. Kung mag-retire kayo, wala na kayo, hindi na kayo nagbablog. Paano kaya yung mga susunod na mga vloggers? Yun lamang po ang layunin natin dito. Kaya huwag kayong magdahilan na hindi kayo nagpupunta rito dahil hindi kayo pupunta rito kasi hindi kayo naniniwala sa layunin ng investigasyon na ito. We want to craft a policy, a remedial legislation so that there will be discipline and code of ethics in the practice and use of our social media platform, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. 7 na lang naman pala to. So, tapusin na natin. Maikli na lang to. Ito, may excuse letter din si Mark Anthony de la Cruz Lopez. I was supposed to stand in front of this committee today in what has been asserted as inquiry on fake news peddlers, narco-bloggers, and Pogo-funded bloggers in aid of legislation. I would have loved to really open up and tell you my story on how I evolved from being an ordinary citizen. Mahaba po siya, mga 5 pages.
Invited guests.
Okay, so there's a any objection, hearing none, the said motion is now approved. About Richard Mata, thank you for your invitation. I just received this yesterday, just a day before the event. I consulted my lawyer and was advised not to attend. The late invitation plus the unclear purpose of the event, we support the freedom of speech. So, what's the pleasure of this body?
The same thing with the others, Mr. Chair. I would like to make a motion to,
But I think we have a
to issue of show cause order.
There's a motion. Any second the motion? Second. Second. Any objection? Hearing none, the said motion is now approved. About the Aaron Peña. While I initially wanted to accept, I would like to respectfully decline your invitation to share my knowledge on matters that were raised by Representative Ace Barbers in his privileged speeches. Last year, after a series of consultation with my lawyers, I would like to categorically state that I'm neither paid by Pogo operators nor drug lords, and so my knowledge is not used for the goal of the joint committee. Same thing. Motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to issue a show cause order for...
There's a motion to issue a show cause order to this person. Any second the motion? Second the motion. Duly seconded? Any objection? Hearing none, this motion is now approved. And Kisette Chu. This in reference to your invitation to the joint inquiry congressional hearing on social media. After careful consideration, I would like to respectfully turn down your invitation due to these following reasons. Mahaba po yung reasons. 4 pages. And sa nababasa ko ba, ang tema niya ay justification of the laws protecting the rights. So I think, what's the pleasure again? I think it's not about health reasons or whatever. It's also justifying not to be present on today's hearing.
Once again, Mr. Chairman, I move to issue a show cause order
There's
for
a
the
motion
mentioned
to issue
invited guests.
show cause order to Ms. Chrisette Chu, and this was duly seconded. Hearing no objection, the said motion is now approved. About the Sean Wayne, it's a long excuse as well. No health issues and not out of the country. So I think same. No, no, he's not out of the country. So, nag-decline lang siya. And this goes also to Miss Ethel Garcia, para yun ang point last natin. So, dalawa po sila, same naman ang reason almost.
Mr. Chairman, that we issue so also therefore both invitees that was mentioned by the chairman. So
There's
move,
a
Mr.
motion
Chairman.
to issue show cause order to Miss Ethel Garcia and Sean Wayne. Duly seconded. Any objection? Hearing none, the said motion is now approved. So now we will be...
Mr. Chairman, just one last
Yes.
admin.
11:30 na. Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, the committee has received a letter coming from the Philippine Entertainment Portal, and they're requesting for their presence to be invited in the next hearing, Mr. Chairman, so that they can also give some inputs with regards to the House resolution that we are tackling in today's hearing, Mr. Chairman. So move, Mr.
Okay,
Chairman.
so we will be inviting them over as well. There's a motion, duly seconded by Congressman Luistro. Any objection? The said motion, on the said motion, hearing no objection, the said motion is now approved. Okay, punta na po tayo sa flow ng presentation natin. Kanina, sinabi po natin yung academe po mauna. We will be recognizing via Zoom si Dr. Rachel Khan, Associate Dean, UP College of Media and Communication. Pakinggan po natin yung mga taga-academe natin. Go ahead. Andiyan po siya.
Kung mauna to, kasi mag-out siya.
Okay, so unahin po muna natin si Dr. Jonathan Ong, University of Massachusetts. Andiyan po ba siya? Via Zoom as well. So via Zoom. Sige, go ahead. Sige, Dr. Ong, you are now recognized. Sige, Dr. Ong, you are now recognized. Please proceed.
Professor, I'm based po dito sa Boston, Massachusetts. Pero dati po ay professor ako sa Ateneo de Manila. I'm a disinformation researcher and director of Sigla Research Center based po sa Manila. And I've been publishing academic research and tech policy papers on social media and disinformation since 2016. I've collaborated with many news and nonprofit organizations in the country. Several of them are invited and present in today's hearings. I've also presented in previous hearings on fake news at the Senate related to elections as well as on foreign interference. So ang una po pong
Dr. Jonathan Ong, for a while, we have problem with the audio. Can you refrain from speaking just yet? So, technical, can you kindly paki-increase lang po yung volume? Dr. Jonathan Ong, you can now proceed, please. We'll just try to check it out.
Alright. Can you hear me fine?
Yeah, okay,
And
go
can
ahead,
you see
go
my
ahead. Now,
presentation?
it's much better. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, so magandang umaga po. I'm a professor based po
Mr.
sa
Jonathan
Boston.
Ong,
Before
Dr.
I
Jonathan Ong,
was a
again,
professor sa
I'm
Ateneo
sorry,
de Manila.
Jonathan.
I'm a disinformation researcher and director of Sigla Research Center based po sa Manila, and I've been publishing academic research on social media and disinformation since 2016, and I've collaborated with many human rights organizations and newsrooms, some of them present in today's hearings. I've also presented at the Senate on fake news and elections, as well as on foreign interference. So, ang una ko pong layunin sa araw na ito ay magbahagi ng research on disinformation. Number 2 is to review trends in global context. It's important to conduct comparative research with our neighboring countries kung ano-ano na nga ba yung mga effective solutions based on other countries' direct experiences, including with legislation. Pag-usapan po natin kung paano maaaring suportahan at posibleng pondohan ng gobyerno ang iba't ibang mga interventions. Third, it's important that we share lessons of what has worked and what hasn't in the Philippine context, and what risks that researchers, journalists, and other organizations in this space have been facing. Fourth, I also wanted to share the vision of Sigla Research Center and myself as a sociologist in terms of tech justice here in the Philippine context. So, my colleagues advocate for tech justice solutions that are sustainable, long-term, and aligned with our country's cultural context. So, So first, I wanted to share this free and open access resource for policymakers and also educators curated by Sigla Research Center. You can visit siglaresearchcenter.org and check out this research archive. Ito pong research archive collects many professors' previously published research and policy papers on disinformation in influence operations. So na-publish na po siya sa iba't ibang bansa pero na-collecto po siya dito sa research archive. Altogether, in reviewing all of them, you can learn about trends across 3 election cycles from 2016, 2019, and 2022 elections. Most recently, we have one paper that also summarizes trends across all 3. Some of you might know that as a sociologist, my specific methodology has also been focused on understanding the business of disinformation for hire. Ito po yung paano magpatakbo ng digital operations during elections and yung mga kampanya at kung ano-ano yung mga klase ng operators na kumikita ng pera from disinformation campaigning. We also include papers in this archive led by other academics such as Fatima Gao who discussed influencer marketing and paano kumikita ng pera ang mga influencers bawat halalan using advertising technology of social media platforms. Finally, we have collected research about counter-disinformation actors in the Philippines and kung ano-ano yung mga interventions na na-implement dito sa ating bansa. So, baka may mga nakakaalam na po sa inyo itong research paper published noong 2018 entitled Architects of Network Disinformation. I was asked to share this with you again today. This research was co-authored with Jason Cabañas, and this analyzed the behind-the-scenes work of disinformation campaigns, how they are organized, the different kinds of workers involved, who sets the agenda, and who executes the campaign. So our research involved interviews with politicians, political operators at various levels of the hierarchy. Kasama na dito mga advertising and PR specialists, influencers, fake account operators, and digital volunteers. This academic paper has also been translated as a podcast produced by Puma Podcast where we interviewed disinformation whistleblowers. So ito po yung mga operators na nagtrabaho sa mga political campaigns and you can hear from them directly. Maririnig nyo how they were recruited into their work at paano sila kumikita ng pera. 3 of our findings: political trolls are not tech-brainwashed, uneducated, poor voters in rural areas. Some of them are from middle-class families and they see political trolling as just a side gig, a hustle to make ends meet. There are different kinds of workers and we need to hold accountable the people at the top, yung mga elites in advertising and PR industries. Ibig sabihin, sana wag lang po natin habulin yung mga low-level workers, yung mga bots, but pati na rin yung mga mastermind. Pero mahirap pong gawin itong kind of research. Naging pangalan po sa methodology ng research na ito ay Disinformation for Hire, yung pag-aaral ng paano nagiging hanap buhay kumbaga ang paggawa ng fake news sa industriya. So ang napag-aralan namin ay ito. Investigative research into the business of disinformation is risky and costly. It requires financial investment and also legal support. So yung mga researchers and journalists who do this are also threatened when doing this kind of risky research. This is difficult to execute because it requires the cooperation of whistleblowers. Ibig sabihin, hindi lang ito monitoring kung ano yung nakikita natin sa social media. Kailangan may ma-invite tayo na magpa-interview sa mga researcher ng mga tao na insiders talaga sa industriya. This means that we need civil society to support worker power movement building in the digital and creative industries. Kailangan ma-encourage natin sila at magkaisa, mapag-usapan ng ethics or lack thereof sa industriya. So, may iba't ibang interventions na nasubukan na. So, for example, codes of ethics have been attempted by legal advocacy groups like Lente. which I'm sure you're familiar with. Unfortunately, these attempts have had very little buy-in from advertising and PR agencies themselves because it threatens their ways of working and their bottom line. Thus, it has become easier to just hunt and fact-check low-level trolls and bots rather than to hold accountable itong mga masterminds. So, pag-usapan din natin ang foreign interference. And it's important that we review prior research. Of course, it's important to invest in cybersecurity monitoring of foreign interference. Ito po yung pag-track ng mga bot accounts operated overseas and how they interfere on wedge issues, such as how Chinese accounts were discovered by Facebook's own investigation as pushing CCP propaganda around the West Philippine Sea. However, we also need to fund local investigative research that can probe the transnational labor networks to expose itong mga financial transactions during campaigns, especially during elections. So for example, during the 2019 elections, we found at least one example of a Chinese mainland business tycoon funding a local politician's digital operations for a mayoral race. Dahil may personal business interests siya sa lugar na iyon at naisip niya na matulungan itong local politician. This should also count as foreign interference and ways of circumventing campaign finance regulation in the country. So, kasama na din sa pag-discuss ng foreign interference, we need to understand how it can come from many different countries, including from our allied countries, such as the United States. Reuters journalists last year exposed the Pentagon as seeding anti-vaccine memes in our country at the height of COVID. We need to pursue unanswered questions from this expose, including identifying possible local Filipino. Important to recognize that many human rights organizations and international legal scholars have raised alarm about the global trend of anti-fake news laws being used as quote-unquote weaponized lawfare. Ang sabi po ng maraming eksperto ay ang mga batas ukol sa fake news ay karanasan nagagamit in an inconsistent and arbitrary fashion, often used by incumbent politicians and governments to target activists, critics, journalists, and opposition parties. So kahit mabuti ang intensyon ng batas, kung hindi specific at transparent ang batas at ang mga implementers na ito, top-down regulation can actually do more harm than good. Kaya nga, kahit UNESCO, nakaaway siya ng mga civil society organizations around Southeast Asia in 2023. So nagalit ang mga civil society organizations sa UNESCO for trying to encourage governments to have control of social media content. They had 3 objections. In effect, this would be rubber stamping local overregulation, it would embolden authoritarian regulators, and it would incentivize platforms to comply with illegitimate government requests. So these objections are not new. Back in 2018, the Center for the Protection of Journalists spoke out against how journalists have been imprisoned on charges of fake news spreading. It's important to note that we should consider different kinds of legislation, hindi lang po imprisonment and fines penalizing social media users. Pwede din po ay legislation focused at big tech corporation na focus siya on content corrections. So mandating big tech to implement content corrections, or number 2, administrative compliance measures for participating in transparency mechanisms with independent researchers. So I'm almost at the final slide, and so now, given the risks of top-down legislation that might do harm than good, yung advocacy ng Sigla Research Center is kailangan civil society-driven ang lunas sa fake news, and kailangan angkop sa ating konteksto. We need to have full awareness of risks of regulatory capture and overreach. So these are 4 very practical solutions that would be more civil society driven rather than top down and overreaching. First is to broaden the focus beyond content takedowns. Government should be supporting independent research and civil society to mitigate local businesses of disinformation for hire. So kahit meron pong examples of foreign interference, mas typical pa rin itong local disinformation. Number two, you can support whole of society coalitions where academics, journalists, legal experts, librarians, educators, and human rights agencies apply diverse methodologies to promote a healthy public sphere. Hindi lang po isa yung methodology, but kailangan iba't ibang sektor ng ating lipunan ay mag-collaborate. Number three, you can target social media platforms. You can pressure them for transparency initiatives and external audits of their policies as well as their algorithms. These can be reviewed by independent, non-partisan researchers and civil society organizations. Number four, and this is recognizing the broader context of an inevitable contraction of funding because of U.S. foreign aid being contracting as well as funding from big tech corporations for fact-checking also being halted. You can augment the funding of civil society who are the front line for fighting disinformation. And I just wanted to shout out some of those civil society organizations that you can be supporting and the different methodologies that they have been using to fight fake news. We argue that we need to support all of these methodologies and support ways that they can all work collaboratively rather than work in silos. So thank you for listening, and I'm happy to answer your questions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jonathan Corpus Ong, for that informative presentation. Maybe later the members of this committee will be asking questions, but for the meantime we'll be proceeding to the next resource person who will be presenting as well. So University of the Philippines, Dr. Rachel Ican, Associate Dean College of Mass Communication. You are now recognized, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
By present siya. O sige ma'am, you are now recognized, please.
Honorable Chair, distinguished members of Congress, ladies and gentlemen, magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. Correct ko lang po yung sa designation, tapos na po yung term ko as Associate Dean. I am a Professor of Journalism at the UP College of Mass Communication. I am also a co-founder of Check.ph, isa pong collaborative coalition ng mga fact-checkers dito sa Pilipinas, where we strive to cite or help the public distinguish disinformation narratives. If you allow me, I have slides po for the presentation, if it can be flashed.
Sige, go ahead, ma'am.
Kailangan ko po yung slides kasi yun yung visual, yung unang visual po na
Yeah, technical please. Ayan na, ma'am.
Ayan, salamat. Next slide, please. So I just want to distinguish, so I've been asked to give an overview of the disinformation or the information disorder environment here in the country. And I think it's very important for us to be able to distinguish the misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation. Bakit po kailangan i-distinguish ito sa ating if ever future legislation or any civil society, even civil society actions? Kasi po, iba ang intent. Ang misinformation po, all of this is, yes, they all result in false information. However, the intent is different. Misinformation po ay pagkakamali po dahil we are all humans and we make mistakes. So sometimes we believe something is true, di ba? Yung mga ibang nagkakamali dito nagpo-post ng yung pala hindi totoo. Kadalasan hindi naman nila intentional na ipalaganap ang mali. However, ibang usapan to sa disinformation. Yung mga nagpro-provide ng disinformation, sadya po nilang pinapalaganap ang maling impormasyon para mamanipula ang public sphere, ang public opinion, or the certain beliefs na within society. Ang malinformation naman po ay sadyang nananakit po ng tao. It usually attacks reputations through disinformation, no? So, nakikita na, for example, ang deepfake ay example po ng isang malinformation dahil you are already impersonating a real person and putting words in that person's mouth. So, ito po, we have to distinguish the intent, no, in tackling the area of information disorder. Next slide, please. So I thought I would just summarize what I have to say in ABCD. Ang abakada po ng disinformation. Ang una po ay manipulative actors. They are people with clear groups, institutions with clear intention disrupt democratic processes or the information ecosystem. The second is deceptive behaviors, mga tactic po. And I'll go through it given the limited time one by one. Can we have the next slide? So I'll tackle it more systematically. So una po, manipulative actors. So as Jonathan had said earlier, no, dun sa nakasite po sa kanyang study Architects of Network Disinformation, ito po ay mga institutions, mga tao, mga groups na nananadyang nagkakalat ng disinformation. I listed here some examples of these manipulative actors, such as yung tinatawag ni or na-label ni Craig Silverman, isang journalist who focuses on disinformation also in the US, na mga black PR agencies. These are boutique PR agencies that really focus on sometimes they operate during elections to either attack or to attack certain individuals during the election period or feed disinformation in other forms like in environment issues, no, health issues, mga ganyan. So sadya silang nagta-target ng audiences. Many of them are not necessarily members or officially recognized public relation firms in the country, but are also ad hoc. And then po yung mga POGO na or community-based fake account operators. No, so ang danger po ng isa pang danger ng POGO ay they have the machinery and the equipment to operate not just online gaming, but they can easily convert to scamming and other forms of harmful activity. And then, of course, apart from them, you also have community-based fake account operators. Ito yung mga grupong na-hire, usually kasama rin sila ng mga black PR na sineset up para mag-attack ng or mag-kalat ng disinformation. Then of course you have the hired trolls, yung mga tao nila, hired influencers. Now this can be individuals who are selling their platform, no, to the highest bidder, no, to be able to share whatever information their financier wants to give out. No, whether it's just for propaganda sake or it's disinformation. And then of course, yung grassroots supporters, ito po yung hindi ito bayad, ito yung mga nai-involve lang sa disinformation dahil masyado silang, for example, loyal sa isang personality. No? So, kung kahit anong sabihin itong influencer na to, i-echo nila. Sort of like blind loyalty. So, many of them are victims also of disinformation. Unfortunately, kahit na biktima sila rin yung nagpapakalat ng maling impormasyon. Alright, so the commonality here is that they are not operating in and for themselves, but are guns for hire, where the weapon is disinformation and the aim is the manipulation of the public sphere. Sometimes po we can, next slide please, there is some times when it's state-sponsored disinformation. As we can see here, I have two studies from that were published by the Deutsche Welles about Russian disinformation targeting Germany, and published also by the BBC News of Chinese-led state propaganda and disinformation. Next po, letter B, deceptive behavior. I'm narrowing this down to what I think is the most threatening. First is the inauthentic coordinated behavior. Ito po, as Jonathan had also mentioned earlier, pwede po nating hanapan ng paraan para mabawasan to at to go after those who actually finance this. This is the multiple digital actors working together to create false impressions of popularity, consensus, and authenticity. Minsan po, sa isang opisina lang, kunyari, marami silang hawak na cellphone, marami silang hawak na mga mobile numbers, pero sa isang tao or isang grupo lang nanggagaling, making it appear that something is